What happens when a man with bad genes refuses to accept the life science picked for him and outsmarts a system built to keep him grounded? Let's find out. In the future, genetic science has advanced so much that parents can choose and edit their children's DNA before birth. Diseases can be removed, and so can traits considered undesirable, like baldness or poor eyesight. Because of this, people live longer and healthier lives. Children born this way are seen as the standard and are labeled as valid. However, not everyone is genetically edited. Some people are still conceived naturally. These people are treated as second-class citizens and are often called faith births or invalids. Society believes their DNA makes them unreliable, weak, and unsuitable for important roles. Jerome Morrow is shown preparing for work at Gattaca, a prestigious space organization. He carefully removes body hair, scrubs his skin, and burns the dead skin to eliminate any DNA traces. He straps a urine sample to his thigh and uses fake fingertips filled with stored blood. At work, he even cleans his desk and keyboard to remove stray skin or hair. Jerome's boss, Director Joseph, informs him that he has been selected as a mission navigator for an upcoming flight to Titan, one of Saturn's moons. After Joseph leaves, Jerome plants fake DNA around his desk so that any testing will match his assumed identity. At the clinic, Jerome gives a urine sample to the Dr. Lamar, who confirms that Jerome is genetically valid. Jerome's coworker, Irene Cassini, congratulates him on the promotion. As Jerome walks back to his desk, his coworkers gather around. Through narration, it's revealed that Jerome's success was supposedly guaranteed from birth. However, he then reveals that he is not actually Jerome Morrow. The story flashes back to a couple, Antonio and Marie Freeman, who conceive a child naturally. After their son is born, doctors test his blood and predict future medical problems, including heart disease and a shorter life expectancy. Despite this, they name him Vincent. Determined not to repeat the experience, the couple decides to genetically engineer their second child. The doctor removes all disease risks and also eliminates traits like baldness and obesity without asking. This child, Anton, is born genetically perfect. As they grow up, Anton is clearly stronger, healthier, and more favored by their parents than Vincent. Vincent notices this difference and grows resentful. Vincent becomes fascinated with space and dreams of becoming an astronaut, but his parents discourage him, reminding him of his limitations. As a young man, Vincent is repeatedly rejected from jobs and medical screenings because of his DNA. One night, Vincent and Anton compete in a swimming challenge, something they did as children. This time, Vincent pushes himself further than ever before. Anton becomes exhausted and starts to drown, and Vincent saves him. Vincent realizes that his strength comes from not holding anything back. Vincent leaves home and takes a janitor job at Gattaca. Every day, he watches the elite workers and imagines himself among them. Eventually, Vincent contacts a man who helps people assume new identities. He is introduced to the real Jerome Morrow, a genetically superior man who became paralyzed after an accident. Although Jerome has perfect DNA, his condition makes him useless to society. He survives by selling his identity and DNA. Vincent and Jerome make a deal. Vincent will pose as Jerome at Gattaca, and in return, Jerome will receive financial support. Vincent changes his appearance, wears contact lenses, and undergoes surgery to increase his height. Using Jerome's DNA samples, Vincent successfully passes Gattaca's tests and is hired. Each day, Vincent must carefully manage DNA evidence, constantly disposing of his own biological traces and replacing them with Jerome's. Life continues smoothly until a mission director at Gattaca is murdered. Investigators flood the building, collecting DNA samples everywhere. Vincent accidentally leaves behind an eyelash, which is picked up by investigators. Although worried, he is told that the Titan mission will proceed as planned. Jerome fears the investigation might expose them, but Vincent believes he'll be gone before they discover the truth. At the police lab, Vincent's real DNA is identified. Investigators realize the eyelash belongs to Vincent Freeman, a former janitor who, according to records, should already be dead. Determined to investigate further, they return to Gattaca and begin reviewing employee records. Later, Vincent meets Irene in person. Even though she was genetically engineered, she still has a high risk of heart failure. Because of that, she'll never be allowed to go on a space mission. Back at home, Vincent tells Jerome that the police found his eyelash at the crime scene and that he's now officially a suspect. Vincent worries he'll be exposed and starts thinking about running away. Jerome gets annoyed and tells Vincent he's overreacting. That evening, Vincent and Irene go out on a date. Meanwhile, the lead investigator orders police to dig through trash bins around Gattaca, hoping to find more DNA evidence. He also sets up checkpoints across the city to catch invalids pretending to be valids. After attending a piano concert, Vincent and Irene drive down the highway and are stopped at one of the checkpoints. Police officers inspect people's eyes to check for contact lenses. Vincent quietly removes his contacts, which leaves him almost blind. Even so, they make it through the checkpoint without being stopped. A little later, Irene tells Vincent she wants to show him something. She parks the car on the side of the road and suddenly crosses the street, walking straight through fast-moving traffic. Vincent follows her, struggling badly because he can barely see without his lenses. Everything is blurry and disorienting, but he pushes through and makes it across. They arrive at a large solar farm just as the sun is rising. They walk through the rows together, enjoying the moment. Irene notices that Vincent's eyes look different, but quickly brushes it off and doesn't press the issue. Back at the crime lab, investigators confirm Vincent's DNA again after finding it on a paper cup thrown in the trash. They now suspect that Vincent Freeman may be disguised and working inside Gattaca. However, the lead investigator finds this hard to believe. He argues that an invalid wouldn't have the mental ability or physical stamina to survive in such a demanding environment. Another officer suggests blood testing every employee just to be safe. The next day, Vincent lines up with the rest of the staff to have his blood drawn. He enters the testing room where Lamar begins the process. Vincent has secretly brought a vial of Jerome's blood with him. At the right moment, Vincent quickly switches the vials and Lamar unknowingly tests Jerome's blood instead. The mass blood testing turns up nothing useful. When the investigators ask to continue searching, Joseph shuts them down. With the Titan launch only 2 days away, he doesn't want more delays. The investigators are forced to back off. Vincent and Irene go on another date, this time at a high-end restaurant. Vincent asks Irene to dance, and the two share a quiet, intimate moment. Vincent tells her that all he has ever wanted is to leave Earth. He jokes that it's ironic how, now that the launch is so close, he's finally found a reason to stay. Their moment is suddenly interrupted when police storm into the restaurant and order everyone to remain inside. Vincent panics and pulls Irene out through the back exit. A police officer tries to stop them, and Vincent violently knocks him unconscious. The two hide nearby while the situation unfolds. The lead investigator calls out to Vincent from the alley, sounding more worried than aggressive. Irene asks Vincent who he really is. Vincent almost answers, but Irene stops him. The two kiss. They spend the night together. The next morning, Vincent wakes up in Irene's bed. Afraid of leaving DNA behind, he rushes to the shore and aggressively scrubs his body with a rock. When he returns, Irene notices scars from his leg surgery. Vincent claims they're from an accident, and Irene plays along without questioning him. At police headquarters, the lead investigator compares photos of Vincent and Jerome side by side. The next day, he personally examines Vincent's desk for DNA. Joseph defends Vincent, insisting he's one of Gattaca's best employees and couldn't be involved in the murder. Irene sees this happening and warns Vincent. Later, the investigator brings Irene to Jerome's apartment. At the same time, another officer examines the murder victim more closely and recovers saliva from the victim's eye. Realizing the investigator is heading to Jerome's place, Vincent calls Jerome to warn him. Jerome drags himself up the stairs, struggling step by step. He barely reaches the intercom before the investigator arrives. Jerome manages to sit upright in a chair just in time. Irene sees the real Jerome for the first time and is clearly confused, but she hides it well. Jerome and Irene pretend to recognize each other, though the investigator senses something isn't right. He takes Jerome's blood and tests it on the spot. Everything checks out as valid. Just as he's about to dig deeper, he gets a call informing him that the suspect has been caught. He immediately leaves. Vincent arrives moments later. Irene realizes she's been lied to and is visibly shaken. Vincent tries to explain, but she doesn't trust him anymore. Eventually, Vincent admits the truth. He tells her he's an invalid and that he's already lived far beyond his predicted lifespan. He explains that invalids aren't defined by statistics or genetic predictions. Irene listens in shock and leaves without saying a word. At the police station, it's revealed that Director Joseph was the murderer. The victim had tried to cancel the Titan mission, which only happens once every 70 years. Joseph killed him to make sure the launch stayed on schedule. The case is closed, though the lead investigator seems dissatisfied. That night, Vincent finds the investigator sitting at his desk. Vincent confronts him, asking how he recognized him. The investigator reveals himself as Anton, Vincent's younger brother. Anton tells Vincent that their parents died, believing Vincent was already dead. Vincent accuses Anton of being unable to accept that an invalid could succeed in such an elite role. Anton insists he's worried about the fraud and wants Vincent to stop before things get worse. Vincent yells back, saying Anton just wants to see him fail. Anton challenges Vincent to another swimming contest. The two head to the shore during a storm and swim far out into the ocean. Anton begins to struggle and begs Vincent to turn back. Vincent refuses. When Anton asks how Vincent managed to get so far in life, Vincent answers that he never saved anything for the swim back. Anton starts drowning, and Vincent rescues him, bringing him back to shore. Later, Vincent finds Irene. She guesses that Vincent couldn't see properly the night they crossed the street, and thanks him for crossing anyway. Vincent offers her a strand of his hair if she still wants to test him, but she lets it drift away in the wind. Back at the apartment, Jerome tells Vincent that he's left behind enough genetic material for him to use. When Vincent asks why, Jerome says he might be going on a trip of his own. He thanks Vincent for sharing his life with him. Vincent may have borrowed Jerome's body, but Jerome got to live Vincent's dream through him. They say goodbye. At Gattaca, Lamar informs Vincent that a last-minute policy requires urine testing before boarding. Vincent doesn't have Jerome's sample and has no choice but to submit his own. The test comes back invalid. Lamar quietly admits that he knew the truth all along. He tells Vincent about his son, who admires him, but was rejected by Gattaca due to his genes. Lamar changes the test result and marks Vincent as valid. Vincent boards the spacecraft. At the same time, Jerome enters the incinerator, calmly waiting as it activates. As the ship leaves Earth's atmosphere, Vincent opens the envelope Jerome gave him and finds a lock of Jerome's hair inside.